Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Algorand Foundation Community Call, the second call of 2026. We hope to share some updates with the community and then open it up for some questions at the end. So if you have any questions throughout this call, feel free to ask them directly on a YouTube comments or in the Twitter comments, and we will get back with you towards the end of this call. All right, and we are live, so hopefully this goes as planned. Yeah, this call will be featuring some news, Algorand metrics, some governance updates, a vibe coding session with Gabe, various ecosystem highlights, and our special guest at the end, Alpha Arcade. So let's dive in. Mark, welcome, Mark Vandenberg, our Chief Marketing Officer and Strategy Officer at the Foundation. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing fabulous. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. What can you share about the latest Algorand happenings?
Yeah, so let's go to the next slide. This has been, I think, a very busy month for Algorand and our ecosystem as a whole, with lots of partnership announcements, lots of visibility in the media, and also increasingly you could see that Algorand is more and more aligned with what's going on in the crypto zeitgeist, which of course is very intentional from our point of view. And so let me go through each one of those three topics quickly. So partnership announcements. As you can see, a number of these partnership announcements were signed over the last month. And if there's a common theme around many of these announcements is that they all are related or mostly related to stablecoins. We want to make sure that Algorand is positioned well in as stablecoins continue to surge in the marketplace. And so we really focused on making sure all of the necessary infrastructure is in place to support stablecoins on Algorand and make Algorand the best chain for stablecoins and stablecoin-based payments. And so just to go over a few of them, Braille is a company that is enabling companies to release their own stablecoins. Braille is now integrated with Algorand, which means that if a company that issues stablecoins wants to make that available on Algorand, it is very easy to do because it is supported by Braille directly. Allbridge is a company that supports bridging of stablecoins between chains. So Allbridge is now fully integrated and live with Algorand as well. So you can now move USDC from any chain to Algorand and back. We announced that USDCA on Algorand is now supported by Kraken, another stablecoin based deal. And just last week, Qantas announced that they have become a direct Visa principal member, which means that they are now able to issue their own debit and credit cards, Visa cards, and have those be linked to Qantas stablecoins and e-money coins, which means that EURD, EuroQ, USDQ, all supported on Algorand, will now be able to be used with Visa cards, which I think is super exciting. And then the last one I want to mention here is Swift. Swift is interesting because Swift basically provides the integration of Kenya's M-Pesa system with Algorand, which I think is super interesting because Kenya M-Pesa is the leading mobile payment system in Kenya, and so having that integrated with Algorand, I think is quite exciting and quite promising. So these are kind of the major announcements that happened over the past month. So I think, as you can see, there's a lot of stuff happening. A lot of it is stablecoin driven. Secondly, you've also seen an increased visibility for Algorand in mainstream media, both crypto media and non-crypto media. And let me give you an example of that. We were featured on Unchained podcast just 2 weeks ago. Chris Pikert, who's the head of cryptography at the Algorand Technologies, was invited to talk about the quantum threat. And so I don't know when was the last time Unchained invited Algorand, but it's been a while. It's been several years. And so it's great that we were invited to Unchained and that Chris was able to talk about the leading position that Algorand has in the quantum space. Because as you know, as everybody knows, our ledger has been quantum secure since 2022, and we are probably one of the few, or if not the only, mainstream blockchain currently that has a quantum secure ledger. And quantum is something that is really a topic that's in the zeitgeist right now, and I think we are leading in the space, and we continue to kind of push that forward. So it's great to see. But not only crypto media, also non-crypto media, we're building more awareness. Stacy appeared on Bloomberg Radio. She was on the Schwab Network to talk about the trends in crypto in 2026 and how Algorand is positioning itself in that space. So we've also pushed very hard to make sure Algorand is not only visible in crypto media, but also in non-crypto media, because that's going to become increasingly important as TradFi merges with DeFi. And so that's been a really big focus for us. So, and then the last point I was going to make is on this alignment with zeitgeist. I think it's really important that we are visible in the zeitgeist, that whatever's happening in crypto, that we are part of it. And so the big trends in crypto basically are threefold. One is a lot of conversation about quantum, and as I said, we have a really good story to tell there, and we are telling that story. And the appearance of Chris Bikert on Unchained was one example of that, and we'll keep pushing that kind of narrative. The second one is around financial empowerment. Lots of conversation about the future of finance finally happening on blockchain. And as you know, this is a core focus for us, and we'll keep pushing that as well. And then the third topic is around agentic commerce, which is also a topic that's gaining quite a lot of traction, and we've done a lot in that space. And so maybe MJ can go to the next slide. So this was also a big announcement from our perspective, which was the launch of X402 on Algorand. And so for just to set the context on this, X402 is a protocol that was launched by Coinbase in May of last year. And it basically provides an internet native payment rail that is blockchain based. And so the interesting thing about this is that it basically enables agentic commerce. It enables agents to be able to settle payments using crypto rails. And so the reason why this is important is because when in the future, when agents start communicating, interacting with each other and paying each other, it is unlikely that they will do this over traditional payment rails. It's hard to see an agent in New York paying an agent in Milan with 3-day transfers and waiting 3 days for like the payment to arrive at high cost. That's not going to happen. The only way agents will pay each other, in my view, would be using crypto rails, because it's extremely low cost, it's instant, and so there's no other method for agents to pay each other than crypto. So X402 plays into this and allows this to happen instantly. And so this is very exciting. And so we've been focused heavily on making sure that Algorand is the preferred chain for X402. So there's a lot of things that happened over the last month or so. One is the X402 spec that we created was officially merged by Coinbase. And what's exciting about this is that the X402 spec really takes advantage of unique capabilities of Algorand, specifically atomic grouping. So when you do a payment, we can basically structure the payment as an atomic group, which gives us enormous flexibility to create complex payment instructions, which is something that no other chain can do. And so this is officially approved and merged by Coinbase. So this gives us enormous flexibility for how to construct these agentic payments. Second thing is, last week we announced the live implementation of X402 on Algorand together with GoPlausible. GoPlausible has been kind of our partner in this area. GoPlausible built all of the tooling, TypeScript, Python-based tooling. GoPlausible launched their public facilitator, Public Bazaar, which is the place where agents register themselves so they can be discovered. So all of this tooling was actually created by GoPlausible and was pushed live this last week. So this means that developers today can actually start building X402 endpoints. They can start building X402 experiences, X402 clients, and they can now do this very, very easily thanks to the VibeKit implementation that Gabe will demo to us later in this call. So this is all very exciting. We are also planning a whole series of activations around this. So we're doing X402. We just completed an X402 workshop in Berlin last week. We will do another workshop, developer workshop, planned on March 1st. We're planning a number of hackathons around this. So we're all in on agentic commerce and the ability to do this on Algorand, specifically because Algorand is so well suited for this type of use case. So that's kind of a quick summary of what's been happening over the last month or so. MJ, back to you.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah. What better blockchain to use with 402 other than Algorand? Yeah, especially low fees for sure. All right, over to Algorand metrics. So Simon is our head of analytics. Would you like to share some of the latest Algorand metrics with us?
Yes, sure. So let's start. As you all know, last week of January 2025, we had launched staking. And here we're seeing a bit the progress that staking done in a year. So we started in January 25 with 1.2 billion algo staked, and we have ended in a year at 2 billion, over 2 billion algo staked. We're also seeing increase month on month. If you see, for example, we had a 1.1% increase in algo staked from December to January, and also a 59% increase from January 25 to January 26. What's very interesting is to see that the community share of staking has gone up to 80.4%, and the Algorand Foundation share has gone down below 20%. Validators, online accounts, we have 1,684. This is an 88% increase from what we had in January 25. So as you can see, security and decentralization is moving very well. Now let's take a look at staking breakdown as at 15 February. So as you can see, here we have Reticule, which had 429 million algo stake, which is 21%. The foundation, 393 million at 20%. Forks Finance with their liquid staking token, 267 million, 13%. Valar, 5%. Reti P2P, 4%, and so on. What's interesting is to see the Reti breakdown. What constitutes the 538 million token stake? So we have P2P with 73 million, and those are made up from Bitvavo, Uphold, and others. Kiln, 429 million. What's interesting to see is 263 of that is made up from centralized exchanges, with Bitpanda at 150 million, Crypto.com 38 million, Coinbase 38 million, Bitvavo, and so on. So as you can see, we have quite some large players who are taking part, apart from the community, in our staking program, which shows obviously a certain amount of trust in the project. Okay, staking rewards. As you can see, we have distributed over 76 million staking rewards. In January 2026 alone, the algo validators received nearly 6.9 million as rewards. Okay, next slide. Monthly, here we're going to see a bit the monthly active accounts, monthly active addresses, new accounts, and transactions. And as we can see, from December to January, we had a nice spike of 62%. So monthly active addresses were up 62%, and new accounts were up 79%, which is a very, very good indicator of on-chain activity. And we had sustained engagement for the 6-month average, which passed of monthly active addresses being around 773K. Okay, next slide. Now, as you know, Algorand is positioning itself, financial empowerment, real-world assets, tokenization, and so on. So here we're going to see real-world assets. What is Algorand what are projects building on Algorand. So let's start with an overview. Between December and January, we had a 42% increase in transactions. We went from 6.7 to 9.5 million transactions. Active addresses increased by 111%, and USDC volume went from 223 million to 584 million. That's a 162% increase. And here on this dashboard, we're focusing only on real-world assets, okay? No, which was one of our focus. And here we're saying which projects and tokens we are tracking. So we have Lofty, Alza Gold, Meld Gold, Afan, World Chess, Mandeshi, Laptray, Stablecoins, USDC, USDT, XUSDT, and Go USDC. Here we're looking at retail payments, and retail payments are defined as payments which are less than $250. And this is the definition which Visa uses in its online dashboards. So as you can see here, we had Algo from December to January. We had transactions from 4.5 million to 4.9 million. Active addresses went down a bit. Volume went down a bit as well. Hafan, interesting project. In December, they had 697,000 transactions. In January, a bit less, but still over 600,000. Active addresses, 46.6 thousand to 34.6, and the volume from 10.7 thousand to 7.8 thousand. Stablecoins, massive increase here, from 500,000 transactions to 1.3 million transactions. Active addresses from 64 to 111,000, 72% increase, and a massive increase in volume from 18 million to 38.7 million, 114% increase. Now, stablecoins in general, again, the market cap went a bit down from 62 to 56, 11% decrease, but active addresses increased 140% and volume increased by 162%. Commodities, gold and silver, massive increases here. From December to January, 51.6 to 87 million, 70% increase, 25% increase on active addresses, and a massive increase in volume traded on chain from nearly 11 million to 40.5 million. That's a 271% increase. Another real-world asset is the famous Lofty project. Market cap remains stable. Active addresses showed a 10% increase. Volume a slight decrease of 14%, and tokenized properties has remained stable at nearly 250 properties. Certificates. Here we're tracking Laptrace and the Indian project called Mandeshi. We had a 166% increase in certificates tokenized on chain and a 125% increase in active addresses. The World Chess progress points, where they keep the loyalty points of their players, again, nice increases, 5% increase in the transactions and 63% increase in active addresses. And the last project we're tracking here is private credit provided by Folks Finance Lending. Comparing end of December with end of January, we had a slight decrease of 5% on deposits, and borrowers had from 15 million went down to 13 million, a slight decrease of 11%, but still nice numbers. Okay, thank you very much. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Simon. I appreciate the update. Now over to Michele. Governance. What's the latest with XGov?
Ciao, Michael. So the last latest update has been done, pushed 10 days ago, and it essentially addresses one of the issues that we have seen in the voting phase of the XGovs, which is the so-called absenteeism, because we had kind of 100 accounts that registered to be XGov, therefore expecting to vote in the grants, but actually never showed up in the latest voting sessions. So in principle, this should not impact the outcome of a vote, because what matters is the 50% plus one of people showing up and voting thumbs up for a grant. But in our system, we have introduced also the quorums, which are, let's say, countermeasures which are needed in order to avoid single large stakers to pass unilaterally some grants. So these quorums are, let's say, for example, if you ask for 400K, 70% of the current XGov should be present at the vote. So in order to make this quorum efficient, we essentially cleaned up the list of XGovs, block producer, in the last 10 days ago. And so now it's, let's say, it composed only by accounts who actually participated in the last voting session. In particular, your eligibility condition is that you have to vote at least once in the last 5 grants that were available for vote to you. So this is essentially the biggest improvement that we implemented. And in order to let's say, be able to clean the XGov, we also added another feature, which is the so-called boycott, because there is an intrinsic value of people who don't want to vote on a particular grant. Suppose that a whale is proposing a grant that you don't like, you can not participate in order to not pass the quorum, right? But so in this case, once we have addressed absenteeism, you could be kicked out if for 5 times in a row you don't participate. So we introduced the notion of boycott. That is like essentially saying, I raise the hand that I'm still here, I participate in the process, but at the same time, I don't want to give my vote in order to pass the quorum. That was the additional modification that we had to do to the XGov smart contract, but it's essentially, let's say, harmless for the usual XGovs. So this, as of now, we have 9 XGovs grants open for discussion up to date. And in the next few days, they will go on voting, and the total amount currently requested is relevant because it's 1.65 million. Connecting with what Mark said before, for example, we have a request for the open source contribution to the use wallet, and also for the X402 implementation by MG. So you can go there and look at the proposal, understanding what is the impact, and make your vote there. To be precise, also, it's not necessary to be an XGov to contribute. That is, for voting, for sure, you have to be a block producer, but you can also contribute if you're not a block producer into the discussion, because every grant is connected to a forum thread in which you can, let's say, make your own idea or contribute to the feedback of the community about this grant. In case, on the other side, you have not, let's say, the necessary quantity to participate in staking and to get the rewards, you can still join a Reti pool, and through Valar, you can also delegate your vote. So even if you don't have, if you have less than 30K, you can still participate and let your voice to be heard in the XGov registry. So for governance, this is all for this round.
All right. Thank you so much, Michele. Lots of great governance updates. All right. Now over to Gabe, our DevRel. Vibe coding is the latest talk of everybody, right? And now the Algorand Foundation has just released VibeKit. I know you were very instrumental in creating VibeKit. Do you want to talk about vibe coding in general and maybe give us a little demo?
Sure, yeah. Happy to. Thank you for the introduction. So yes, I built VibeKit. It is essentially a sort of like an agentic framework that enables your LLM to write Algorand code really, really well. If you've tried creating an app using like ChatGPT or any kind of LLM, you're probably familiar with the problem statement, which is that AI is not very good at writing Algorand code. So when I first developed VibeKit, that was the problem we set out to solve. But since then, it's actually involved into like a whole framework. So now with VibeKit, your agent can actually own the entire developer experience from like 0 to mainnet deployment. So your agent can scaffold a project, build a smart contract, deploy it, test it, call it, and actually even like attack it. Like you can like tell your agent try and like break or attack the contract, which is really fun. But you can do that all within your agent. So I thought rather than talking about it a bunch, I would just walk you guys through some of the core features, and then you guys can try it out on your own. So let me try and share my screen. Is that working? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes. Yeah, and this just a reminder to everyone, this is live, so hopefully this demo goes as planned, you know.
Yeah, so AI is like non-deterministic, so we'll see like where this goes, but I've had pretty good luck so far. It seems to do really well. Yeah, you'd start off with the install. So if you go to getvibekit.ai, that'll bring up this like website with the documentation and most importantly, this install script. So if you wanted to follow along, you would just copy that and then paste it into your terminal. So I've already installed this, so I'm just going to skip that part. But once you've installed it, inside of your terminal, you can run the VibeKit init command, and that will take you through a series of steps that you need to follow to set up your project. Actually, it's really, here, let me try and expand this. Okay. Is that fairly readable? Like, is the text big enough for you guys?
I can see it just fine.
See it just fine? Okay, cool. All right, so you run VibeKit init, and this is going to ask you a series of questions to set up the sort of like agentic stack that I talked about. The first question is going to ask you is which AI coding tool do you use? VibeKit is primarily geared towards developers, but if you don't have much experience in that and you want to just try vibe coding on Algorand, as long as you can figure out how to use a terminal and how to use one of our or one of these AI tools, you can, like, it's very accessible. I'm going to use Cloud Code in this case, and then it's going to ask me to install the agent skills. So we've developed a set of agent skills, which are essentially just markdown instructions that the agent can use to develop on Algorand. We've created 12 of them so far. We've also created, or I should say MG from Go Plausible has created the X402 skill. So if you want to play around with that, that's available here as well. But these agent skills just cover everything from like how to write proper syntax, how to like deploy a contract. This does a lot of the heavy lifting to help the agent do a good job when writing Algorand code. So I'm just going to select all of them. And then it's going to ask me what directory I want to set up. As of right now, VibeKit works on like a per directory basis. So whatever directory you set up is the one that you want to use Claude inside of in order for all of this to work. I am going to create like a global configuration eventually. So you can just install this once and it works for any directory, but just keep in mind for now, you have to use the directory that you specify. So in this case, I'm using a VibeKit directory inside of my home directory. And now it's asking me which documentation MCP I want to use. So the agent, when creating Algorand code or creating a DApp or whatever, will first of all look at the skills that we configured, and then it will use a documentation MCP to perform like general knowledge retrieval, right? So it actually, the Kappa MCP right here uses the same LLM that that powers our documentation website. So when you ask a question in the little chat screen on the bottom right of our docs, the Kappa MCP actually enables your agent to reach that exact same service. It does like a really good job. So, but if you prefer context 7, you can use that as well. Finally, really important piece is the development MCP. So I guess I should back up a little bit and just briefly explain what an MCP is. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. it essentially allows your agent to interact with the real world by providing what we call tools. So in this case, the development MCP provides tools that allows your agent to interact with the blockchain. So when you initialize this MCP, Claude or OpenCode or Cursor can actually interact with LocalNet, testnet, mainnet. We'll see that in action once I get this all set up. I already have my GitHub access token configured. That's just so they can reach public repos. And then we have VibeKit provides account providers for you. In this case, I'm going to use the OS keyring, but what these essentially do is they just keep your mnemonics safe from the agent. Obviously, you don't want to be exposing your keys to an agent that's subject to like prompt injection, or ends up somewhere in like OpenAI servers. You have no idea. It's really important to keep that secret safe. So VibeKit out of the box comes with these account providers that you can use. You can use either a HashiCorp Vault, which is experimental, or you can use a keyring. And in the alpha release of VibeKit, you can actually use like Para, so you can directly connect to your wallet's account through VibeKit and start developing through there. But the main point is that your keys never get exposed to the LLM. So last step should be to create the project. Looks like we're all good. I'm already inside of VibeKit. So let me just show some of the files that it creates. So here you can see like we have a few directories. Inside of this Claude directory, it drops all the agent skills. This mcp.json is basically what configures your MCPs. So this points to the Kappa MCP as well as the VibeKit MCP. And then it has this like agents.markdown file, which just gives it like additional instructions specific to Algorand. So it does like a really good job. But that's really all it sets up for you. And it does this inside of the directory that you specify. So if I launch Claude, my coding agent is going to have access to all of this stuff, and it's going to actually manage the lifecycle of the MCP. So you don't have to worry about starting or shutting down in the MCPs that we configure here. But this all looks good. So like I said, it owns the entire development loop. So I can do things like I can have it scaffold a project for me. I can specify what I want. So I can say like create a new TypeScript Algorand project for me. I'm just going to do a little bit of thinking. It might ask me some questions because I didn't specify what I want the project to be called or anything like that. You can see it loaded the create project skill. So those are those markdown files that I created. So here's going to ask me what I want to call it. I'm going to call it my Algorand app. I want to use the production template just because that includes tests. But these are all the options that are provided to you when you actually use AlgoKit to initialize a project. So it's like a really nice way of using just the English language to describe what kind of project you want to create. So yes, we'll proceed with that. And looks like it created it correctly. This red here, don't worry about that. That's just kind of like a warning. It's not an actual error. Now the agent's asking me if I want to go ahead and scaffold this. Why not? Or install the dependencies. And so once this is all set up, I'll have like a canonical AlgoKit project that's ready to use. And I think we'll try like, it comes with a default Hello World template. So we'll try just building that and deploying it and then calling it. So I have everything set up here. I will tell Claude to build the contract. So there's a Hello World contract here. Can you please build it? I like to always be very polite, just in case, So it's going to run the AlgoKit project build command. Give it a second. Hopefully it builds successfully. Cool, so it built successfully. It created the ARC56 app specifications, created the teal and everything. So now if I want to, I can just deploy it. But before I do that, I obviously need an account. So I'll show you what the sort of account provider feature looks like. I can tell it to create a new account called Gabe if it doesn't already exist, and do it on localnet. Okay, so now it's using the account provider. It's switching to localnet. That sounds good. Listing my existing accounts. I probably already have some on here because I've been playing around with this. And now it's going to create an account called Gabe. And this is, again, using the OS key ring. So like the same key ring that like saves sensitive passwords is going to save the mnemonics to your account. So it's completely safe from the LLM, and you can develop safely against it. So it looks like it created here with this KKN address. And now it's going to give me a default option of funding it. So yes, fund it from the localnet dispenser. It's all kind of built in really nicely. And you can also do this against testnet, mainnet. So it's calling the fund account tool. And now I've funded that account with 10 algo, and now I'm ready to go. Now I can deploy it from my account called Gabe. So now I'll tell it to deploy the hello world contract from this account. So it's going to use the app spec and deploying it against localnet. And the app ID is 1007. So let's just see if that actually shows up in LoRa. So here I'm in the blockchain explorer called LoRa, switch to localnet, search by that app ID. And here it is. So this is that hello world contract that we just built and deployed directly from our agent. And I can even ask it to call some of the methods. So let's say I don't know what the methods are, and I just want to list them. List the methods of the contract, and then call them. And just for fun, let's call them using a simulate. So the MCP comes with simulate calls as well. So when you're developing, you can, like on testnet, instead of giving up your precious testnet algo, you can use the simulate endpoints. It also supports like atomic transactions. Basically anything you can do as a developer, you can do directly through the agent. Tried to do a really good job of supporting it. So yeah, the simulation succeeded and the contract returned hello Gabe. And yeah, that is like the zero to hero workflow, all directly inside your agent. Obviously, you can create new dApps as well. So I'll just demo that really quickly. Let's maybe create something really simple, just in the interest of time. Let's have it create a counter contract where users can implement or increment a counter and save the result to global storage, just to add a little bit of interest and complexity. Maybe I'll tell it to use the Kappa MCP to look up how to do it before you start. In fact, let's put it in plan mode. So the agent does a pretty good job by default of like using the MCPs to perform general knowledge retrieval, but sometimes it doesn't, so it doesn't hurt to specify beforehand. So here you can see it's using the Algorand knowledge search tool, and it's actually asking it how to create a smart contract with global state and Algorand TypeScript. So this is, again, using the same engine that powers our documentation is what's being used here by the agent. So before it actually starts writing any code, it just does like some general research so that it can basically write accurate code. And often it like one-shots it, which is pretty cool. So now it's exploring our code base. While it's doing that, I just want to point out really quick, if you go to the docs on getvibekit.ai right here, and if you go to the, hold on, let me full screen this. If you go to the install page, this little box right here shows you how to install the alpha version. So the X402 skills, if you want to start trying those out and building out some agentic commerce, you would just like copy this, paste it in your terminal and run it. And then the alpha version is what gives you access to the X402 skills that were just merged last week. But I'll merge that into the production version probably later today as well. So it looks like our agent's still kind of working and studying. This might take a little while. Not sure. Sometimes it's really fast, sometimes a little bit slower. Kind of depends on the agent or the internet. Let's see if we can if we get a result soon. Okay, so it's reporting back that we have all the information needed. The Algorand docs actually have a counter contract pattern. That's right, actually. So it actually pulled a bunch of information, including some of our counter examples. So this is maybe kind of like I'm cheating a little bit with his example because I forgot that the docs actually have a counter contract example, but it did pull it and it is using it, and it's going to create an accurate contract now that we'll definitely deploy. But when you try it yourself, like, be very creative. A lot of people in the community have built some really advanced stuff. And Mark actually built like a whole payments platform, really, really impressive. So don't be shy to stress this out and like, see if you can execute on your vision. And also, please like hit me up if you run into any issues running it or anything that could be improved. I'd love to hear any feedback. But yeah, so here's the code. This is actually the code for the tests. So it's going to write the contract itself, and then it's going to write the test for it. And now it's asking me if I want to build it. So we'll see if it actually builds, which it should. And if it doesn't, the agent will just go back and correct the code. It'll go through the whole cycle again, where it does knowledge retrieval, looks up the skills, and the contract compiled successfully. So we've one-shotted this counter contract. Now it's going to ask me to run the tests. We've like explicitly instructed the agent in the skills to always create tests, which is a good practice, especially when you're doing agentic development. And so it looks like the test didn't run, so I had to do like a few corrections. See if it gets it right this time. Cool, all the tests passed now. So from here, I could go through the exact same development workflow that I showed earlier, where I could create a new account if I wanted to. I could deploy this contract to localnet, testnet, or mainnet, and I can call it from the agent, and I can ask the agent questions about the contract too. So like, just like I did for the Hello World contract, I can ask it what methods are available on this contract. And so it's a really nicely integrated development workflow. The idea is to help make Algorand development more accessible for new developers, as well as basically augment experienced developers and just like increase their velocity so they can ship more code, get more done. And so here the agent listed the increment method returns UN64. And like I said, I could call it, test it, attack it. I don't know if I have any more time left. Probably not. Do I have time?
Yeah, we're running out of time.
I'm running out of time. Yeah, well, okay, just one last thing. Try attacking the contract. So once you go through this whole method, just tell it to like attack my contract using simulate calls. It's really fun. It's going to try and set up a bunch of different attacks, and so we'll see if some succeed or fail. But try that out. It's really fun, and that's it.
It's pretty incredible, honestly. If you think back, only 2 years ago, we only had arcane languages to kind of develop smart contracts on Algorand, and then we launched Python, and then a year later we launched TypeScript. And now we have this whole kind of like AI tool that allows you to build smart contracts and everything without like writing a single line of code. It's just unbelievable, how much the barriers to development on a blockchain and an Algorand in particular have come down. So there's really no excuse for any creator who has a smart idea to actually start building and trying it out and proving it out. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's also like really fun. Like for me, it's been kind of reinvigorated my passion for smart contract development, because it's just a really fun integrated workflow, and I feel like my abilities have been sort of uncapped. Like there's nothing I really can't do anymore with this sort of agentic workflow.
Yeah, unleash your creativity with VibeKit. Awesome. Thank you, Gabe, for sharing. That's very powerful tools there.
Thank you so much.
Now over to the ecosystem, which I can run through real quick and get over to our guest Alpha Arcade afterwards. So some quick ecosystem highlights over the last month or so. TinyMan released their split router version 3, which automatically splits your trade across multiple liquidity pools with the goal of reducing slippage, maximizing your output. They've also adjusted their fee structure, focusing on long-term sustainability. We saw Haystack make amazing updates. They dropped their auto yield function. Now my tokens just don't sit idly in my wallet. Now they get auto deposited on folks' finance to generate the best yield for me. Haystack also released their Haystack login. This is a one-click setup, allowing you to log in with your email address or favorite social media account. It also eliminates transaction pop-ups when trading. You know, if I want to swap USDC to Algorand, I click swap, it's done. You know, none of these wallet pop-ups. Haystack also came out with their Launchpad, all sorts of customizable ways to launch your token, various bonding curves. It's very cool, very user-friendly. I'd recommend trying it out. Haystack also came out with their agent skills. You can curate various agent skills for the Haystack router, use wallets, and NF domains. And then we also had Alpha Arcade, which is our guest here in a few more minutes, launching customizable markets, accepting now all major crypto payments and Apple Pay, and also revealing their MCP server, which would also allow you to your AI agent or favorite AI assistant to place predictions on your behalf. So pretty cool updates from around the ecosystem. A few more highlights. Pact released their 2026 roadmap, includes concentrated liquidity platform. Folks Finance unlocked new utility for their Folks token. Holders can earn up to 50% fee discount when swapping. Realms released their soft staking platform, and it's open for any ecosystem project to utilize. Myth Finance added an export feature just in time for tax season. Akita Inu open sourced their terminal user interface, allowing you to perform all sorts of various actions on your command line. And then finally, Loot Wallet added experimental support for post-quantum secure accounts. So that's a brief recap around the ecosystem. And also just a plug for the Web3 masterclasses. Sarah Jane and Camilo are working on these Web3 masterclasses. The registration is open. This is for anyone who's ever wanted to build on blockchain but don't have technical expertise, or anyone that has an idea they want to build but hasn't fleshed out quite the business end of things. You feel free to register, go through this program. It's an incredible program that takes your idea from just simply an idea to a proof of concept. And they are also using a lot of AI vibe coding type stuff too. So there's the QR code. You're free to scan that and sign up. All right. So now the moment you've all been waiting for is our special guest, Max Ball from Alpha Arcade. Welcome, Max.
Thanks, MJ. Appreciate it, man. First off, love the shirt. Appreciate you repping the new merch. For everyone, we do have a merch drop out right now. We have mouse pads, we got stickers, and a new hoodie. It's live for about 4 more hours, so go ahead and check that out. But yeah, I'm so happy to be here on this community call as always. We couldn't be more stoked at Alpha Arcade, not just with what's going on at Alpha Arcade and Lofty, but with Algorand as a whole. So I'm excited to dive in deeper and kind of walk through what we've been working on, some of the new features we've launched, and then obviously what's coming soon as well. It's a lot of big things we've been talking about for a while. So again, we couldn't be more excited. One big thing that happened recently, we were ranked number 3 in the weekly transactions out of all prediction markets, right behind the 2 big boys. So this for us, obviously, we started this company a little over a year ago. A lot of these guys have been going for about 5 to 6 years. So this was a great proof point for us, kind of knowing that we're going down the right path. And all of this was happening, again, before we launched the ability for people to make predictions with Card, Apple Pay, and other cryptos. So this was purely on Algorand, which again, not only shows again that we're on the right path, but that we have this amazing, passionate user base on Algorand, which has always been my favorite part about this chain, is really just the passion of the users. And again, the technology, because if you use Alpha Arcade and then you use Polymarket, you're going to notice immediately that there's just a massive difference in the speed that predictions occur and the low costs. So again, for us, building on Algorand has always been the most obvious choice in terms of the millions of decisions we make, both for Alpha Arcade and for Lofty. So about a year after we've launched, we hit around 25 million in volume. I think we were projecting, hoping to hit 5 to 10 million when we launched this during the Super Bowl last year. And then the price of Alpha token has gone up about 10x since the initial pre-sale. And like we've always said since the beginning, the goal with the Alpha token wasn't just to launch a token to launch a token. The goal was to have true utility and to reward Alpha holders with these USDC airdrops based on the trading fees occurring on Alpha Arcade. And so again, we wanted to create this flywheel where if you're using Alpha Arcade, you want to hold the Alpha token because you're essentially getting a rebate on those trading fees that you're paying through these USDC airdrops. And so again, for us, we don't make any revenue. All of the trading fees either go to Alpha holders as USDC, or they're used to buy Alpha, which is then burned to reduce supply. And we've seen a number of companies kind of taking on these tokenomics very recently, since we kind of thought of this a little over a year ago, which we expected, but it's always interesting to see. In terms of our latest features, we launched the ability for anyone to come onto Alpha Arcade and create their own market, which is actually approved instantly. And so these markets can literally be about anything. It could be about the price of Algorand. You could be with a group of friends playing a video game, throw up a market. One friend can predict against another friend immediately in that market right on Alpha Arcade. And so this is done without our approval, purely decentralized, which again, I think is always going to be a big difference between us and the other guys, is that Alpha is fully decentralized. The second latest feature, anyone in the world can now come onto Alpha Arcade and make predictions with Apple Pay, Card, and any cryptos that they'd like. This has been one of the bigger features that we've wanted to launch for a while, because naturally it opens up this product not only to Algorand users, but really to anyone. And as we've seen with Lofty, when you force someone to download an external wallet, it just doesn't work. People don't like downloading additional wallets, and it's an additional step in the onboarding process. And so for us, we've really been waiting for this feature launch before we start pushing heavily on marketing and really pouring fuel on the fire, which is where we're at right now. And the next feature, this is probably something I would say we're most excited about. We've now created the ability for people to essentially create these trading bots or LP bots really within like 30 minutes. And it's beyond simple. We're committing $100,000 in liquidity provider rewards over the next year for people that want to create these bots and provide liquidity in order for predictions to go through instantly for users. And so if you were to create a bot on Polymarket or any of the other prediction markets, and you were to compare the rewards you get there to what you would get on Alpha Arcade, the difference is insurmountable because the competition on Alpha Arcade is so low for these bots. And so this is something I definitely recommend everyone check out. We just made a big post on Twitter about it. You could spin up one of these bots in minutes. Again, AI and agents obviously make this a lot easier. And so again, something we're really excited about. And then looking forward, prediction ETFs, this is something we're going to be rolling out soon. Essentially, if you're bullish on AI, you should be able to essentially make a prediction, either bullish or bearish, on a multitude of different AI markets, right? And being able to benefit and really hedge through doing that through an ETF, which is traditional, similar to like a traditional ETF in finance. NTT, so we have completed the NTT integration. We're hoping to get Alpha token listed The first integration is on Base, and so we're hoping to get listed on Coinbase and then a few other centralized exchanges as well. We think the alpha token can be one of the best ways to bring users onto the product, because naturally, if people are holding this token, they're going to want to see what the product is about, and they're going to recognize that if they're making predictions on Alpha Arcade, again, they're going to be receiving those USDC airdrops directly to their wallet just for holding Alpha. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to stake. Just purely holding the token gets you these USDC rewards. Live stream markets, again, we've always thought it would be extremely interesting to spin up a market for any live streamer and allow people in the stream to be able to make predictions in real time. If you imagine like the Speed versus Ashton Hall race, imagine being able to spin up a market in real time and make predictions on who was going to win that race with the odds updating in real time. And for us, live stream predictions, we've been doing it on Algorand. There's been a number of chess streams. I know Cosmic Champs did an awesome live stream, which was super cool. And so that's been great. And then governance 2.0, like again, moving towards full decentralization, all of the decisions should be made by the users. We do plan to obviously open source this at some point in the future. And so that's something we're constantly working on. And just wrapping this up, growth and marketing. Big shout out to you guys at Algorand Foundation. You guys have been extremely helpful, not just working with us to grow the product, but really just strategizing ways to bring in new users onto Alpha Arcade. Mark, MJ, Mikkel, Wasim, you guys have been great. For us, we want to bring in as many users as possible, obviously. And when these users are coming in and they're making predictions with Apple Pay, with Card, with different cryptos, that's amazing, because every transaction is settling on Algorand, and these people don't even need to know that Algorand is involved, right? And that's the way that you build this massive product, this massive Web3 product. That's how Polymarket was able to do it on Polygon, right? I guarantee you more than half of those users don't even realize that they're using the blockchain. That's something we've accomplished with Lofty. That's something we're going to continue to do with Alpha. And again, we just couldn't be more bullish on where this is going. We're only a year in, and I can't even imagine what this page on this slide will look like a year from now when we're doing another community call. So again, appreciate you guys, appreciate the community. And yeah, we couldn't be more excited on our end.
So Max, is there a prediction market on telling us where you're going to be next year?
That's not a bad idea. You can actually spin this up immediately after the call if you'd like, Mark. We can even provide the liquidity. Totally up to you.
Yeah, thanks, Max, for sharing it. It's crazy to think it's only been a year. Like I think of Alpha Arcade and I'm thinking, oh, they've been around forever. But it's crazy. Yeah. It's wild to see how much you guys have grown in just a 1 year time frame.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's been amazing. Appreciate it.
It's awesome. Well, thank you for joining. I think we will wrap up the call with some questions. Does anyone have any questions for Max or anyone on the foundation? Feel free to drop your questions here in the Twitter comments or YouTube, wherever you're watching it, and we will start answering some questions. Right. All right, here's the question. Visa card support in the US. I don't know, Mark, would you like to answer that one?
Yeah, this is something that we're actually actively working on, and we're hoping that we're going to be able to announce something fairly soon, in the next maybe month and a half, maybe or so. Don't hold me to this, but this is an active project, and we're hoping to announce something pretty soon on this.
Got it. Thank you. Let's see. Here's a question, perhaps for Michele, for governance. Why would one opt to boycott instead of voting no? I'm assuming that's a governance type of question.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good question. So let me try to explain with an example. Suppose that you are asking for that a malicious actor is asking for 400K as of now. So there is a quorum of 70% of the XGov which are going to vote, and 70% of the total vote staked. The vote that is actually voting on that grant. And suppose that this malicious actor is a large whale who owns, let's say, 40% of the total votes. So he puts this grant and vote yes, obviously, with his 40%. So you, as a single user, you can, without the boycott, you would say, I don't want it, so vote in no. But actually, by doing this, you are, let's say, favoring the grant because you are approaching the quorum. Because only after the quorum of these 70% of voters, the vote is valid. Okay. And in this case, you are essentially trying to counteract, but at the same time favoring the grant. What you can do is say, no, I don't want it, and so boycott. So that means not helping the whale to reach the quorum, because if it is only himself, he has only one vote as an account with a huge voting power. But since there is a 70% of quorum, which means as of now there are 162 excovs, the 70% would imply that at least 113 accounts must vote. If less than these 113 accounts vote, the grants don't pass. Okay, so when you vote boycott, you are not helping the grant to reach the quorum, but at the same time you are raising the hand and say, I'm still active, so I still want to participate in the overall excov. That is, in the next grants, I want to be there and not to be kicked out for being an absenteeist. That's essentially the rationale behind.
Thank you, Michele. That makes sense. There's a few questions here on Project King Safety. Mark, did you want to give us a little rundown of that? Oh, Mark, you're muted. Let's see.
Yep. Okay. Yes. Let me give a quick gut on this. Great to see Frugal BC on the call, by the way. Hi. So King Safety. So just make sure everybody's on the same page. Project King Safety is part of our roadmap, and it deals with sustainability. How do we make sure that the protocol is sustainable in the long run? As you know, the staking rewards that were introduced a year ago expire roughly early next year. And so what happens after that? How do we make sure that the protocol remains sustainable after that? So we posted an update on this in December saying that, hey, we're looking at a different ways to create the sustainability as part of Project King Safety. We could increase fees. We could allow a more structured way of MEV. We could issue more tokens. There's multiple ways to actually go about this. And so that's what we're working on. So we've changed the kind of release process a little bit because since we did the last update in December, we announced in the beginning of January a new governance body, the Ecosystem Advisory Council. And the Ecosystem Advisory Council is basically an official governance body that allows more formalized input and more formalized communication between the ecosystem and the foundation, and between the ecosystem and the newly elected board. That is part of our return to the US. So we have this new body, and the body basically has representatives of the community, has representatives of the key projects and of the stakers. And so as part of the charter that we announced for this new body, we said that basically any initiative that's coming from the foundation that deals with sustainability or governance has to go through the Ecosystem Advisory Council before we can actually release this to the broader community. So this basically impacts how we are releasing Project King Safety. So the plan is that we will share the details of Project King Safety and our thinking around sustainability first with the Ecosystem Advisory Council, and that's going to happen very soon. And that will kick off a conversation about the content of this before we can then release it to the broader community. That's where we are. That's a quick update on where we are with this. and we're really looking forward on kind of a deeper engagement with this project. We know that project is very important. There's like very strong opinions about how we should deal with sustainability, and so we're looking forward to discussing this in detail with the newly elected Ecosystem Advisory Council before we then publish it more broadly to the entire community.
Great. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, it's great to get feedback from the advisory board first. Here's a question probably for Gabe. Any update on AlgoKit 4.0? Here, let's add.
Yeah, so I don't know if our publish date for it has been officially released yet, so I can't share that information, but it is imminent. We're working on the documentation for it right now, and the work is in its final stages, so just stay tuned and we'll have something more to share shortly.
Great, thank you. We get a few questions on this. Regarding DEX liquidity, I know that Fred is actively working on this with Amar, and Fred is on vacation here. I invited him to the call. He's on vacation, but I will speak with Fred about this and get back with y'all about DEX liquidity. That's definitely a good topic.
Yeah, and let me add to this. We know this is taking way too much time. I think it's a really important issue. We're completely aware of this, and it's a really top priority to solve. Turns out it's pretty difficult to solve, but we obviously haven't forgotten about this. This is a really big and important priority for us.
Yep, sounds good. And do we have any update on the Roca wallet? How's that going with World Chess? I don't know who wants to take this. I know Bruno is actively working on this. Mark or Gabe, did y'all have anything to speak on this? Or?
Yeah, I think this is continuing as planned. So, and from a wallet infrastructure point of view, I think there's been a lot of progress. Like since we announced the roadmap in July of last year, as you remember, wallet infrastructure was an important part of our roadmap, and there's two components to that. One was Intermezzo, and two was Roca. Roughly 2 months after we announced the roadmap, we released Intermezzo publicly. It's now being used by several projects, also in India. That's exciting to see. Roca is still under development. World Chess project is going great. I think the World Chess is actively using Intermezzo to manage their loyalty program, their on-chain loyalty program, which is increasing. And so the next step is for us to release Roca together also with World Chess for the chess identity passport that we've talked about last year. So that is in progress.
All right, thank you so much, guys. And with that, we are running out of time, so I think it's good that we wrap things up.
And Jay, like if you don't mind, there are several questions that were asked in the chat.
Oh, sure.
Also about our return to the US and why we are not a nonprofit anymore. So I want to make sure I tackle this. So I just want to make sure that everybody realizes this is not a fundamental change on how we're structured or like what the foundation's mission is or anything like that. So all of this change from a nonprofit to a profit structure has really no impact on how the foundation is managed and run in the US. The only reason why we did this is basically for tax and specific legal reasons. So it has no bearings on the activities or the strategy of the foundation. And so I just want to make sure that people realize this.
All right. Thank you, Mark. All right. We're a bit over time. So thanks to all the listeners. Thanks for everyone who asked questions. Thanks to all our speakers and guests. Thanks, Alpha Arcade Max. And this concludes our community call. Hopefully you'll join us next month for